You stare at the phone screen. The tracking app reports a balance that is $200 higher than what your bank account actually shows. You blink, rub your eyes, and look again. The numbers on the app are clear. You scroll through the entries one by one. Every morning coffee, every bus ticket, every Amazon package is listed there in black and white. You pull up the bank app in a second window and hold them side by side. You check the math twice. You add the totals again, your thumb tapping the glass screen with increasing force. The numbers balance perfectly on the app. It accounts for every cent you spent this month. Yet, the bank app remains stubbornly, impossibly empty. You refresh the page, waiting for the spinning icon to reveal the missing funds, but the total does not change. The gap sits there, a $200 void between what the software claims you have and what actually exists in your account. You feel the weight of that missing space. It is not a simple calculation error. It is a disconnect that makes your pulse quicken as you stare at the glowing display. You drop the phone onto the desk. It clatters against the wood, a sharp sound that cuts through the silence of the room. You stare at the blank screen, then pick it up again, swiping through the interface with aggressive intent. You try to find a history of your habits, a trail of your past decisions, but the app is a clean slate. Every time you close a window, the software resets. It records your data, but it has no memory of you. This is not a glitch in the math. It is a fundamental system failure. The app treats every expense as a fresh start, a solitary point in time with no connection to the day before or the day after. It collects numbers like a machine, but it lacks the capacity to understand the person behind the transactions. You are feeding information into a void that clears its own history every single time you blink. You realize that you have been managing your life with a tool that cannot remember who you are. The app knows your spending, but it does not know your story. You are left with a screen that tracks everything and understands nothing. Today, we turn your financial amnesia into a working brain using a core concept from AI development, the stateless model. Most people track money exactly like a stateless AI. You open your app, you type food, $50, and you hit save. Then, you close the app. That entry is a dead end. It is a single, isolated data point that vanishes into the digital ether. It does not tell you if that meal was a strategic networking lunch that could grow your career, or if it was a stress-induced purchase at 3 in the morning. Because your data lacks state, it contains no connective tissue. It is a series of isolated events rather than a coherent narrative of your behavior. Your brain cannot find patterns in a vacuum. When every transaction is treated as a fresh start, your mind never has the chance to look back. It is like trying to build a map while looking through a keyhole. You enter the numbers, you close the window, and the context is lost forever. You are left with rows of data, but no intelligence. You have the information, but you have no way to turn that information into a decision. You must stop recording and start encoding. Think about your financial history. You have years of transaction logs sitting in your cloud storage, yet you still feel like you are starting from zero every single morning. Why? Because you are living inside a 24-hour context window. You record the expense, you see the confirmation, and you move on. You are performing the input, but you are not storing the meaning. Your brain is wired to recognize patterns only when data persists over time. But your current method treats each day as a disconnected fragment. You have a massive library of past transactions, yet your brain cannot access a single lesson from them. It is like reading a book, one page at a time, and burning every page before you reach the next chapter. You are not building a history. You are just accumulating noise. To fix this, we must break the cycle. We have to force your brain to connect today to yesterday and yesterday to the week before. We are moving from simple ledger keeping to deliberate memory encoding. You are about to turn your scattered financial data into a cohesive, usable brain that learns from every swipe. Consider your weekly cycle. You feel wealthy on Friday. You spend with confidence, You treat the balance as a green light, and you assume the numbers will hold. By Monday morning, that confidence evaporates. You check your account, and the reality is gone. You are broke. This is not a failure of income. It is a symptom of financial amnesia. Because you do not encode your spending as memory, your brain enters a state of perpetual surprise. You lack the long-term context to see the crash coming before it happens. You are operating on a feedback loop that resets every 72 hours. You see a balance, you assume it is your permanent state, and you spend until the system hits a hard stop. This cycle repeats because your tracking method is a mirror that shows you the present but hides the trajectory. You are flying blind, looking only at the altimeter while ignoring the fuel gauge. To stop this, we must build a new brain. We are not just changing how you track, we are changing how you perceive your own resources. You need a system that persists, that remembers, and that forces you to acknowledge the consequences of a Friday decision on a Monday reality. To build this memory layer, you must abandon generic labels. Stop using categories like shopping. That term is a void. It tells you nothing about the value of your choices. Instead, you will implement intent-based tagging. Use categories that define the purpose behind the transaction. Tag your spending as social investment, self-care, or impulse waste. Now, imagine you open your log at the end of the month. You see $400 listed under shopping. You feel nothing. It is just a number. But when you see $400 explicitly labeled as impulse waste, the effect is instant. The label acts as a mirror. It forces you to confront the reality of your choices without the comfort of vague excuses. You see the total, you feel the weight of the loss, and your brain recoils from the pattern. This is not a math exercise. It is a psychological intervention. Seeing the truth behind your swipes removes the ability to lie to yourself. When the intent is exposed, the behavior must change. You are no longer just logging numbers. You are auditing your own life, and the visibility of those tags will trigger a defensive response the next time you reach for your card. Now that you can see your intent, you must address the noise. Your bank statement is likely littered with a dozen tiny, recurring deductions that hide the real drain on your capital. Most people try to cut these one by one, playing a game of whack-a-mole that never ends. You need a sharper strategy. Apply the principle of deduplication of habits. Stop treating every transaction as an isolated event. Scan your history and find your anchor habit. This is the single, primary purchase that triggers 5, 10, or even 20 smaller, redundant expenses. Perhaps it is a premium streaming service that leads to constant digital rentals, or a gym membership you never use that justifies buying unnecessary gear. The anchor habit is the silent engine of your financial leakage. You do not need to cut the noise. You only need to cut the anchor. The moment you cancel that primary subscription or delete that specific app, the dependent expenses lose their context and vanish. Watch your log. When the anchor is gone, the secondary costs disappear from your statement without you ever having to address them individually. You have stopped the cycle of fragmentation. You have reclaimed your focus by silencing the static, leaving only the clear, actionable data of your true financial health. Your finances are not a collection of static files. They are a living, interconnected system. To stop the cycle of surprise deficits, you must implement a global state update. This means your budget must react to your actions in real time. If you purchase a flight for a vacation, your internal ledger must automatically adjust the state of your other categories. It is not enough to simply record the expense. You must trigger a system-wide flag. When the flight hits your log, your budget for dining out should instantly flip to limited. You do not need complex code to run this logic. You only need to create a dependency rule. If A happens, B is restricted. By locking your discretionary spending the moment you commit to a major investment, you prevent the drift that leads to an empty account by the end of the month. Your wallet is no longer a passive vessel. It is a responsive agent that knows your limits before you do. When you see that limited tag on your food budget, the decision to skip the expensive dinner becomes a structural necessity rather than a difficult choice. You are building an ecosystem where every dollar spent in one area preserves the health of another, keeping your entire financial reality in perfect, automated balance. Now, you must perform the final layer of maintenance, the weekly sync. Every Sunday, sit down and open your log. Do not just scan the total numbers. Look at the tags you have assigned. If your social investment category is empty, you are not saving money. You are becoming a hermit. If your impulse waste category is rising, your environment is triggering you. Use this time as a developer would. You are debugging your own financial agent. Adjust your constraints for the week ahead based on what the data tells you about your behavior. This is not about the past. It is about future-proofing your actions. By reviewing these patterns every 7 days, you are hard-coding new responses into your own mind. You are training yourself to spot the trigger before you even reach for your wallet. You are no longer reacting to a bank statement that surprises you. You are the architect of your own spending architecture. You know the limit, you know the intent, and you know the outcome. You have built a system that functions as a proactive shield. By the time you are ready to swipe your card, the decision has already been refined by your own logic. You are the developer of your financial life, and you are finally in control. The gap between what you have and what you think you have is not a math error. It is a lack of memory. You have lived in a state of financial amnesia for too long, treating every day as a blank slate that wipes away your progress. Stop recording your past and start encoding your future. This is the moment to move from a passive observer of your bank account to the active developer of your financial brain. Every swipe of your card should be an intentional act, backed by the tags and constraints you have built into your own system. Do not let another week drift by in the fog of vague spending. You have the tools, you have the logic, and you have the power to define your own economic reality. I have built a Notion template that integrates these AI logic tags directly into your workflow. If you are ready to stop guessing and start building, comment memory below this video. I will send the system directly to you. Take the final step, secure your financial brain, and start seeing your patterns for what they really are. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.